Story 1. Confidence means believing that others will consider you. You must learn to like yourself first. Otherwise, you are wasting their time by putting them on a pedestal meant for one person, and you are not up there with them. Story 2. I am likable but not relatable, so I am fun at barbecues, but no one can really imagine being with me every day. Also, at 35, socializing with other single, age-appropriate people takes much more effort than it did in college or the early to mid-20s. Story 3. I still have not met someone I would genuinely want to stay with long-term. Story 4. No offense to the great men out there because I know they exist and this is not meant to criticize them. This is probably what it will sound like. Between the married men who pretend to be single, those with secret children they don't tell you about, men who are involved with other men while posing as straight, men with drug or alcohol problems, and those who are abusive that you do not realize until you are cornered and afraid, it is safe to say I have simply given up. Story 5. I don't know how to properly word this, but I guess I can't care for myself, so how am I going to care for a girl? Story 6. Living in Japan. In Japan, a large portion of our generation considers getting married and having a child to be an extremely expensive act that only some people can afford without sacrificing their personal life. Also, many of us have low self-esteem, which may be a factor. Story 7. Because of past experiences, I am more selective. Story 8. I love my life the way it is now. I have been married twice and had several other long-term relationships. I ended those because I learned. I like doing what I want to do anytime I want, going where I want without needing permission. I am alone as much as I want, and I have casual relationships just long enough to my taste before I have to compromise non-negotiable aspects of my life. It is the shortest fairy tale ever told. One day, a man asked a woman, "Will you marry me?" The woman said, "No." The man lived happily ever after, rode motorcycles, went fishing and hunting, played golf often, drank beer and scotch, had plenty of money in the bank, left the toilet seat up, and farted whenever he wanted. Story 9. Mental abuse, violence, continual disappointment, head games, and men just wanting something casual. I take full accountability for my part in choosing to stay in some of those relationships too. I recognize wholeheartedly that not all men are bad. It just hasn't worked out for me so far, but I'm letting it go and focusing on myself. I believe magic can happen when you invest in yourself first. However, I do believe finding a genuine relationship or connection is much harder now than it has ever been. Hopefully, we teach future generations how to treat ourselves and each other much better. Story 10. I have not put much energy into finding someone, and I am not conventionally attractive, even though I think I look amazing. Story 11. Mental health and personal choice. After the mental abuse she put me through, I ended the relationship much later than I should have, and I decided I was not going to date anymore. It has been roughly 4 years since, and I still have no interest in a partner, dating, or any form of companionship. I fully expect to die alone of old age, and I am okay with it. I am happy. I have friends, an ex-wife who is supportive, and a mostly understanding family. Story 12. Just trying to get over my ex. I cannot date because I would be looking for his soul in every man. It will take some time, but I will get there. Story 13. Fear of rejection. I honestly do not know. I am hoping my psychiatrist helps me find out. Story 14. I think I am high-functioning autistic and often misinterpret social cues from the opposite sex. I am a 38-year-old female, so I feel like I should be better at it. I dislike chick flicks and romance novels because they make me feel ill, but at the same time, I am very feminine. I am also petite, only 5 feet tall, and look like a porcelain doll. I am unsure if I will ever connect with someone romantically because I am so different. I am conservative, traditional, and even old-fashioned. Most people would probably see my life and say I am religious. I am open-minded about many things, but I have strong convictions about right and wrong. I honestly think I was born in the wrong era because I did not receive encouragement from my parents to develop this way, and I certainly was not like this as a child growing up in the 90s. I do not know what happened. I even decorate my apartment with vintage and Victorian-style pieces. I am not giving up hope, but will not set myself up for disappointment either. Story 15. I know there are few good men out there, but I have seen many people fail in their marriages. Husbands abuse their wives or children, secretly have affairs, and fathers sexually assault their children. Seeing all this makes me give up on having a partner. Story 16. I believe my very introverted personality, the amount of cannabis I consume, and my tendency to talk to myself contribute to my situation. Additionally, I live with my mother at the age of 38, do not have a strong interest in sex, and struggle to communicate with men. I also do not necessarily want to maintain long-term relationships with men due to past negative experiences. Story 17. Not actually being bothered? If it happens, it happens, but I am happy being me. Story 18. I cannot jump on men. I want to be friends first. It seems like no one is interested in being a friend because I am not attractive enough. Story 19. After all the difficult people I've been with, I've developed a strong sense of boundaries and sensitivity to others' energy. Now, I prioritize protecting my peace and spiritual alignment, distancing myself from people whose intentions or vibes feel off or who aren't adding value to my life. I'm more selective now, focusing on deeper emotional and spiritual connections rather than basic, casual interactions. My self-sufficiency and commitment to personal growth, art, and maintaining my energy make me more cautious about who I let into my life unless we are aligned. When you start putting your needs first, things begin to fall into place. That is exactly where I am, and that is what has kept me single so far. Story 20. I was going to say I am not putting myself out there until I remember the rise of alpha male behavior and that it was for a reason. Story 21. I hate myself, especially my voice. It bothers me a lot, and I would change it in a heartbeat if I could. Story 22. Bad luck, severe trust issues, and a lifetime of emotional baggage from abuse and neglect. Story 23. Having a hard time putting myself out there. Asking someone out is always a risk, especially if you have developed a friendship and do not want to lose that in case they are not interested in more. I know how to be generally fun to be around, especially at clubs and parties. The transition to a date is what I find elusive. Story 24. I think for me, having photos for applications is important. I have not really done anything social for several years now, given the financial strain I have been under. I do not know where a good starting point is. Story 25. Started focusing on myself, diving deeper into my own hobbies, and working from home without putting myself out there. I am kind of scared of disturbing the peace I have created. It is a balance of loneliness and quiet comfort. Story 26. The penis is well below average and I feel insecure about it. I am still a virgin at 24. It is what it is. I just do not want to let a girl down. It measures 4.1 inches when erect. No girl is going to want that. Also, my soft penis is so small that it looks like it belongs to a toddler. Story 27. Because I have difficulty finding someone I actually feel attracted to. Story 28. Challenging dating pool for someone in their late 20s who does not want an immature relationship. Story 29. Fear of being emotionally vulnerable combined with really valuing the peace and freedom of being alone. Part of me knows at the end of the day, I would not be able to dedicate enough energy to a person that would otherwise deserve it, and I would eventually want more alone time. My social battery is very low. Loneliness sucks at times, but I do not know. Story 30. Reading Reddit horror stories. Ain't nobody got time for that. Story 31. I am not going to date someone who does not respect me. Too many men want me to do everything for them, including work, and then they run around and cheat, spend all my money, and act entitled. I would rather be alone than go through that. Story 32. I am not good at meeting people. I do not want to randomly start talking to women while grocery shopping and come across as creepy, but I also have no interest in going to clubs or similar places. Story 33. Terrified of the opposite sex unless I am drinking, which I do not do in any quantity anymore. So sad. Story 34. I need to improve myself before I let someone affect me that way. Story 35. When people point and say, "Ew," it really puts things into perspective. Also, I like to have at least some money. Story 36. Excessive self-sufficiency, independence, love of freedom, introversion, and depression. Story 37. I am unattractive and unpleasant without a credit score and have a drinking problem. Story 38. Living in a small town and working in a female-dominated industry. Story 39. Making the worst choices for partners, methamphetamine addicts, and generally terrible people. 40. And still making every mistake possible. Story 40. Everyone seems to want to try polyamory lately in the gay scene in my city, but that is not for me. Story 41. Currently, I am a returning student in college in my early 30s, and I feel like I don't have the time or budget for dating at the moment. It is challenging, but I am finishing in a year. Then, I may try to engage in the dating scene actively and see if I can make something happen. Story 42. Myself. Inside lives a conscience of not approaching girls much and sometimes having a general dislike for myself. In all seriousness, I probably would have gotten my first girlfriend if my crush had not moved before this school year started. Story 43. Boring, introverted, out of shape, with low confidence and unjustifiably high standards, I think. Story 44. Being in love with someone I cannot have and not being able to move on. Story 45. So much more fun. No obligations to anyone else. Sleep whenever I want, eat whenever I want, have more money, and do whatever I want. Sleep with whoever I want and have constant exciting new possibilities and people to meet and bond with. The stress just does not justify it for me. Story 46. Very few friends I knew growing up had intact first marriages for their parents. Very few friends I have now, more than 45 years later, have intact first marriages. I have always considered it, and still do, a no-win situation. Story 47. After ending a long-term relationship, I don't think I ever want to date again. Story 48. I just don't fit the market standards around me. I don't know how to dance, I'm not into partying, and I'm not considered conventionally attractive. I've been told I'm very handsome or just handsome. I either get the overly impulsive short girls or the very sweet ones who got cheated on and mistreated, and now I have to either deal with their baggage or move on. Sometimes I attract the awkward ones who become super uncomfortable in person and don't know how to act. It's been pretty exhausting. Sometimes you try to do your best to help people, and they just don't make it easier. I am also very nerdy but don't look like it. I like to work out and love swimming. Maybe I'm just hard to read. I've been single for so long that I really enjoy being by myself. I go out with friends and have been to bars and other social activities, but I'm just not most people's cup of tea. Story 49. I struggle to maintain a conversation over text, which is unfortunately a significant part of dating in this era. Story 50. Haven't felt the spark or connection I am looking for in anyone I have ever met yet. Story 51. I set the bar too high. To be honest, it is not that good men do not exist. It is that I just have not met one worth his weight in sawdust. I am not saying I am a great catch, but I am not the worst. However, I will not go back to an abusive relationship. It takes me a long time to trust someone, and what I hear means nothing compared to what I see. I do not buy into lip service. Show me how you feel, and I will believe that more than you telling me how you feel. Story 52. Honestly, being taught by my friends, father, uncles, and others that a partner is there for sex and nothing else ruined any chances of me being with the last couple of girls I have been with. I cannot even bring them around my family. Their questions and jokes are always, have kids already? I am literally 20, or you rap before you tap that, or anything along those lines. Leave it to a broken young man to figure out what a normal relationship is supposed to look like when all he has known is dysfunction and chaos. Good job, Dad. Story 53. Haven't been attracted to a man in years, and yes, it's cliché, but it's the first thing you notice. If I'm not finding someone attractive, they can be the greatest person on the planet, but it won't go beyond friendship. I fell in love once in my life and that was brilliant, so I hope one day it will happen again. Story 54. I am unattractive and according to you all I am a horrible person too. Story 55. Helping take care of my grandparents. I know it is not my time to look for a relationship, and I know my mother cannot take care of them alone. I can wait. Story 56. Mostly gaming, to be honest. I just enjoyed gaming with my friends too much for it to be disrupted by any other person. Then, the one time I actually go outside for a birthday party, I met that one girl and fell in love hard. She is also a gamer, so we can sit back to back while everyone is playing their own games with their friends. I wouldn't want it any other way. So there is hope. Story 57. Men usually just want to sleep with you, and that is not my interest. Story 58. I don't really know. I guess I choose to be single. A woman asked me out last year and I rejected her. I had a small hookup with another girl a while before that and I felt really lonely afterward. The burden of constantly wondering if I am going to find my life partner is too exhausting. I would rather just not think about it until there is someone in front of me that I cannot deny. That may never happen, but if it does, then I will try. Story 59. Sigh. My standards. Somehow, people seem to be scared to approach me because of my outer shell being too thick, I guess. I don't know. Also, before I ruin my reputation, I want to try with someone who has the potential to make it work. You know? Not something temporary. I want to make it last this time. I've dated a lot on Facebook, but now I want the real thing. I can't risk ruining my image in the eyes of the good, reliable girls by dating someone I'm not really into. You know? Story 60. I think the women of this generation have made me asexual. I know there must be some great women out there, but my luck has been the worst. Story 61. I do not want to date in my city, but I also do not want to join any dating applications. I did use them in the past, but nothing really worked out. I am socially awkward with questionable taste in men, but not so much with women, thankfully. Also, COVID-19 and the economy are factors. Story 62. Fear and probably body odor. I bought deodorant instead of antiperspirant. Story 63. I am not sure if I would be able to give a relationship my 100%. I am focused and want to keep it this way for at least a few more years. Once I achieve a desired goal in my life, I will happily make myself open to a relationship. Story 64. Acting insincere because I am afraid to connect with people. Story 65. Being unattractive and bringing nothing to contribute. Story 66. Dating today is difficult. I am also very selective, and I have not really met anyone I see as someone I want to take a chance with and see where things go. Story 67. Being fearful avoidant with borderline personality disorder traits and favoring ghosting. Story 68. Being slightly less desirable than the desirable ones, I reckon. Story 69. For me, it was only because I did not talk to women at all. They did not even know I existed until I started the conversation. Confidence is key. Story 70. My ex cheated on me twice with one of my bandmates. Completely ruined my trust in friends. I don't even try to talk to women. I know guys can be jerks, and I usually give women their space. So I just keep to myself and observe from afar. Story 71. Unattractive appearance, small genitalia, low income, no personality. The only woman who spoke to me had her brother accidentally run over her cat and blamed me. Story 72. Not putting myself out there, and men showing me very little interest. Story 73. I consider myself average to slightly above average in a girl next door sort of way. I work in the service industry, and being hit on constantly is making me numb to the whole attachment thing. Story 74. I have never been in a relationship, probably because I do not feel like my best self. I have not put myself out there, wanting to focus on myself, including my grades, health, and work. I live in a small town, only go to work and attend a community college, and every girl I like is already taken. Story 75. I do not trust anyone, myself included. I never thought much of monogamy. If I want to explore multiple relationships, I will. I expect anyone I am dating to do the same. Story 76. Expecting the bare minimum and not accepting less than that. Story 77. Well, it turns out I am only attracted to women who are emotionally unavailable. Story 78. I missed the flirting class in high school, so I do not know how to talk to girls. Additionally, I am autistic, so I need a script to help me. I used to have one, but then I became depressed for 6 years and forgot it. Story 79. I'm older now, and through the years I have seen how incredibly goofy and foolish my friends have become when they pair up with somebody or get married. They seem to lose all common sense. They cut ties with their friends and, in some cases, their families. Obviously, your spouse or partner is going to be your priority, but I have seen far too many people create a bubble around themselves and cut off everyone in their lives. Then, years later, if they break up, they come running back to everybody. No, I don't want to be one of those people. It's easier just to be single rather than lose my mind. Story 80. My inability to open my heart and let people in after all the abuse and trauma I have had to endure has caused me not to trust people anymore. I have kept myself isolated for nearly 20 years because I do not like people all that much. I like cute girls, but they never seem to like me back. So why bother? Tinder was just depressing, and Bumble was a waste of time. It is probably because I am unattractive, but I do not know. Story 81. Having hair held me back until I was 25. Shaving my head led to an explosion of attention from girls since then. Story 82. My unwillingness to drink at parties or attend parties at all. Story 83. Not wishing to pursue anything yet. I have been single for 4 months. Story 84. I worry that people tolerate me instead of actually liking me. I'm pretty quiet by nature, but can be quite enthusiastic about the things I enjoy, and other people tend not to engage the way I do. I have friends, but I'm not anybody's best friend, if you know what I mean. I've been married and have kids, but that ended when she had an affair. My kids are the only people I feel like I can really be myself around, but that has to be balanced with not using them as stand-ins to dump my problems on. I'm their father first and foremost. In a single phrase, I suppose it's low self-confidence. Story 85. I haven't felt that sharing my life with someone would significantly improve the experience. I've lived more or less alone for the past 15 or more years, and I'm quite happy getting my fill of connection by making close friends instead. But really, I'm just afraid to ask out people I like because I'm bad at judging what others think of me. The fear of rejection, anxiety about our future together, and wondering if I am good enough are so overwhelming that I avoid the situation until the feeling inevitably fades. Then I tell myself I'm happier alone anyway. Story 86. I am blocking my own path. It is me, myself, and my own limited mindset. I really want to meet someone and have that connection, but it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there. Of course, I am so tired of being ignored. Story 87. Not feeling valuable. Feeling insecure. Being used to being alone. Feeling anxious even when thinking about a relationship and having to be responsible for a woman's happiness and having to behave obediently. I couldn't be myself. It is one or the other, and I have no patience for drama. Hard pass. Story 88. Well, my mother always told me, don't date or marry a man until you finish and claim your work, earn good money, or you may end up like me. A housewife living a difficult life. She doesn't have a job or money and can't do many things because my father does. She was in her 20s when she got married, and I know many who have the same problem. Story 89. I am asexual. I would not mind a deep relationship with another person. The obstacle is that I am literally unable to desire a person's body, and a significant other generally wants to feel desired. Barring the extremely unlikely chance that I find another middle-aged asexual compatible with me, I have made peace with the fact that I will probably die alone. Story 90. Good taste and an unwillingness to settle. Not that I am better than anyone else, just different. Sensitive. I recognize my limitations. I am overeducated, as I was always in school and changed careers 3 times. I did not drink or use drugs. I never could handle being out of control and hated the feeling. Times changed after I became more sexually active. I wanted to stay free of sexually transmitted infections and adopted an acceptance of a single lifestyle as a result. I had my chances. I never felt like I would be a good father since I get preoccupied or self-involved, and I saw children being less and less under parents' influence. I wanted them to reflect but not be bound by my values. So there was that. I enjoy music and play 2 instruments. I am more sedentary. I love watching football, but that is it. Finding someone to match or appreciate those values got tricky, so I stopped. That is why. Story 91. I lost interest in dating. Now I spend time with my dog away from people. Story 92. Myself and I, whether it is me being too scared to talk or date, or the fact that I am overweight or that women are intimidating. Story 93. One could say that it's because I don't put myself out there enough, or that maybe I have too high standards, but on a deeper level, I am still very much enjoying being single and at peace. Most people in my age range, both men and women, are exploring and figuring out what they want, along with engaging in frequent sexual activity. However, I have a pretty good idea of what I want and do not need a lot of meaningless sex to figure it out. I have experienced sexualization in a male-dominated profession at work and been harassed in such a way that I genuinely feel I cannot trust men. Even though 2 out of 10 men outwardly say something completely and utterly disgusting to me, my male friends and colleagues often act as though they did not hear it. Later, they may say something along the lines of, "That shouldn't have happened," while continuing to be friends with the person who said those things, all while claiming to care about me. I also genuinely believe that social media, extreme pornography, and the overall social desensitization to sex and violence have had a profound impact on the dating market. For example, the media portrays men and women differently depending on the form you observe. Why would a good woman who wants partnership want to be with a man who only wants her for sex and as a housekeeper in their relationship? Likewise, why would a good man seeking a lifelong partner want a woman who is only interested in his money until someone with bigger financial resources comes along? It is okay to have different standards or preferences in people. It is acceptable for a woman to want a man who is 6 feet tall, and for a man to want a woman who is not morbidly obese. The problem I see often is that people settle or try to force their partner into being someone they simply are not and have no interest in becoming, unless possibly for the sake of the relationship, which may lead to resentment. Story 94. The mentality that it will always end in vain. I am moving in 2 years, and I like 2 guys who like me. I am afraid to pursue them because I cannot do long distance, and it will probably hurt me in the end. Story 95. I have my ambitions set high, and I do not want to mess around with someone's emotions, knowing that I might end up leaving them later if I meet the person or type of person I want to be with. Story 96. Not being ready. I would never feel ready or worthy enough to accommodate someone completely new in my life emotionally, physically, and mentally, and I am fine with that. Story 97. I do not stand out visually, to say the least, despite being quite good at conversation once I am given a chance. Story 98. I am too socially stunted. I was bullied a lot when I was little for being the crippled kid. I developed many unhealthy habits as defense mechanisms to keep people away from me, so they would make fun of me behind my back instead of to my face. My very limited romantic relationship history consists of 2 long-distance relationships with people who deceived me to varying degrees, so I have stopped trying. I have friends, but they are all online. I do not really have any desire to meet them in real life. They are absolutely delightful, wonderful, and truly special people, but they are also much more normal than me. They have jobs, lives, and partners. I cannot work, so I do not really have a life. I play video games all day and hang out with them when they are available. Story 99. I have never found anyone I truly cared for other than my family. Story 100. Being involuntarily celibate. Not enough opportunities. You just don't meet single women in everyday life. Story 101. I have never met the right man and I am 40 years old now. It becomes more difficult with every passing year. Story 102. The fact that I will spend most of my life in a married relationship, enjoying this time for myself instead of mindlessly chasing women for external validation like a desperate fool, is wise. Story 103. I spent 5 years not knowing where I stood with someone and found out I was her backup plan. I am so exhausted after that. Story 104. How horrible dating has become. Oh my goodness. Dating applications ruined it for me. People are such liars. Story 105. Social insecurity for 27 years. Driven by idealistic motives for 4 years. Needless to say, I know where the soul to life is. Story 106. Received proposals turned down twice. Now I lack the will to share my work. Story 107. Social awkwardness, reluctance to put myself in the dating pool, and fear of rejection. Story 108. Having higher standards for people's personalities. I do not need you to be in love with me. I need to see that you are a decent person who can pull yourself out of tough situations and grow from them while maintaining a healthy set of morals. Story 109. If I cannot stand the thought of taking care of myself, I will not be able to take care of another person. Also, I am not yet of the age of consent. Story 110. Men in my area are mostly very boring. It is difficult to keep a conversation going. I mostly talk and ask questions, but nothing comes back. They do not really pay attention to their appearance. I am not talking about gym bodies, I dislike gym bodies, but about hair or the clothes they wear. Women on dating apps barely even write back, which I totally understand. I regularly delete the app without deactivating my profile as well. Story 111. Not committing to a relationship and poor communication. It's not that I don't want it. The dates go great, but they confess that they are ready for the next step after a few dates or a week max of just talking. That is too little time to know a person. How can they be ready? Then I panic and push them away, while I should just say that it is moving too fast. My behavior is seen as rejection, and they move on, rightly so. Story 112. This singleness complements me with freedom. When we understand how perfectly and properly we can live and redeem this life, it is difficult to return to companionship mode. Additionally, I do not trust human touch nowadays. It is too temporary and conditional. Story 113. Aversion to real connection and not going anywhere aside from work and home. I just don't feel the need to be in a relationship. Story 114. My ex hit me and verbally abused me. I was also sexually assaulted several times in high school by my best friend. I believe I am dealing with trauma. Story 115. Super awkward, very particular, alcoholic, will absolutely dominate the conversation about unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials as soon as I get enough drinks in me, also kind of shy. Story 116. It is hard for me to find someone interesting, and it is harder to find someone interested in me. It is impossible to find someone with both qualities. Also, it is pointless to have a person like that. The love between two people will be temporary, and after 10 years of marriage, they will get tired of each other. It is not like I will die if I stay single. I believe that after some time, I will get used to it and will not feel lonely for sure. Also, I cannot even try because of some cultural barriers where I live. That is not a problem except for my situation. Story 117. I do not know about being kept, but I am not dating because I tend to be attracted to horrible people. Story 118. Exhaustion. After many bad experiences, I have retired. Once you can suppress your libido, let go of your dream of having a family, and master the art of giving and experiencing love through acts of service for your community, life becomes much more bearable. It is the kind of peace you can only achieve by letting go. Story 119 was cheated on. It destroyed my self-esteem, confidence, and my ability to trust. Girls find ways to excuse their actions and gaslight me, thinking they know what they want while their actions say otherwise. Story 120. I look at how couples treat each other, and it puts me off. Story 121. There are only two reasons. 1. My appearance. 2. My personality. Story 122. I spent most of my life trying to undo the trauma from my youth, so I would not burden anyone with my presence. Now I am in my 30s and have no idea what to do. Every woman I talk to in a romantic way makes me feel worthless. I do not really know how to feel confident or desirable without having been desired or instilled with confidence from an outside source. I have tried to get there on my own in many different ways, but rejection just resets me. It would be nice to have one decent relationship before I leave this earth. I do not even care if it ends in a breakup, but to spend a couple of years with a woman, maybe live together, tackling life goals together, getting to know the person inside. I would like that, but I do not expect it. Story 123. Men seem to just want you to replace their mothers. It is creepy. Story 124. Caring too much. People do not want someone who only wants to help or improve together. I believe relationships should build each other up to the next level. Not everyone thinks that way. Story 125. I am married now, but for a couple of years before that, I realized I had to work on several aspects of myself that required being alone. It took about 5 years until I felt ready for a healthy relationship. Story 126. I realized I do not need someone else to be happy. I am currently content being single. I am working a lot, and I am the only one I have to worry about financially. I can work as much as I want without someone saying I work too much. I am able to work on myself. Story 127. I have no idea what I am doing when it comes to dating, and I am extremely introverted. Story 128. Too broke. Also, trust issues, self-confidence issues, and negative charisma. Story 129. Staying out of social media, mostly Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. No self-esteem. All my exes hit on me first when I met them, but I have never tried to hit on anyone. Zero commitment. Story 130. I have always seen dating as something optional. Not saying it is useless or irrelevant though. Story 131. The last person I loved hurt me. I still have feelings for him, but they are not enough to date him again if the chance arises. All I know is that he is alive and well. Story 132. I find it hard to form attachments with people and I get bored easily. Sometimes I lose interest quickly if I do not feel engaged. Story 133. I am not ugly, but I could improve my styling, makeup, and clothing a lot. I just do not have a natural interest or feeling for it. I have periods when I put more effort into it. I show my partner, and he says, "Oh, that is nice," which makes me feel underwhelmed. When I wear something nice to work, my coworkers are much more complimentary than my partner. Story 134. I learned long ago that women did not think I brought much to the table. Nothing they were interested in anyhow. You could say I gave up, but if my prospects were zero, what was I giving up on? Story 135. Low self-esteem. I am a very shy person in real life. I have seen people around me who have had bad experiences with relationships and marriage. Currently, I do not have a job to support myself financially in case I want to get married. Story 136. I don't like people who like me, and people I like don't like me. For the people I have dated, my choices have been poor. I've consistently picked the wrong one, even when I had multiple options. It's reached a point where I don't like anyone anymore. I am neither desperate for a companion nor for sex. So I am at a stalemate. Also, I have been told by my friends, both male and female, that I don't put myself out there. According to them, I have often been asked about their female friends. I have heard this from many unconnected people, so it is unlikely to be a prank. Maybe I come off as unavailable or uninterested since none of those females have actually approached me. Story 137. Personal preference. I still live at home. I attend online college. I do not have a job or a driver's license. I want to move to the United States. I will start dating once I am settled there. Story 138. Realization that only women and children are loved unconditionally. Story 139. Trauma dating back to childhood, mainly from my family. I don't like to blame others when it comes to this subject, but it's not wrong. I'm turning 29 in a little over a week, and I still live with the source of that trauma. Fortunately, I finally make enough money to move out and start over while living on my own. Hopefully, I can turn myself around one day. Story 140. Being hurt so badly, afraid of it happening repeatedly. Story 141. Honestly, I have never really tried to date, and my friends' experiences completely turned me off. I also genuinely enjoy being single. I only have to worry about myself, and I can do whatever I want whenever I want. Story 142. I forgot how it feels to be in love. I stopped allowing myself to see people romantically. At first, it was because of my mental and financial situation. Now, I travel a lot for work. Although I am paid better than ever, every 4 to 6 months I change countries. In between traveling, all for work, I make friends only to lose contact with them later. Being in a relationship is out of the question. Due to depression, stress, and genetics, I have been losing hair since I was 16. Now, I look at least 10 years older. I hate looking at myself in the mirror, so I avoid it as well. I think this sums it all up. Story 143. Not building social networks during college and early career. I just worked hard in college and my jobs. Now I have to rely on unreliable dating apps full of catfishes and bots. Story 144. Going home directly after work. Not socializing with friends. Story 145. Too busy working and I'm shy. I just graduated school and now have bigger things to worry about. Story 146. Scared of showing vulnerability. Scared that I'm not good enough at a given stage of my life and that I need to wait until I have everything figured out and know what I want. Scared that I'm going to end up like my mom, who never managed to make anything work for herself. Her partners were bad, but now that I'm finally in my own relationship, I can see she also made some mistakes. I got into my first and only relationship so far at 25. I think that's for the best, to be honest. Story 147. The people I have dated. If dating is not better than being single, why would I keep doing it? To be fair, I am not a people person. Story 148. Hi, female 31. For me, it's a combination of being a huge introvert, not going out as much except for work and sometimes eating out with a fixed group of friends, and being bullied in high school, which makes me think that everyone who shows interest is maybe possibly pranking me. Story 149. My alcoholism affects every woman I talk to. Things go well until I drink, and my insecurities take over and ruin it. I am trying to go sober and not ruin my life. Story 150. Well, it's a personal choice. I have a lot of work to do for myself after going through such immense heartache. I just feel it wouldn't be fair to the next man that I could possibly call one of the loves of my life. I want to be a better partner and truly be a memorable, fun, and loving partner. The time I'm spending single isn't just sitting around and not self-improving. I'm flipping the script as I type. Story 151. Childhood trauma caused trapped emotions and not loving myself as I should. Story 152. It would be great to see one of these posts without comments that think they are encouraging people with low self-esteem but are actually telling them that their personality must be unpleasant and they have no charisma. Story 153. Ugly, overweight, lacking personality, does not contribute anything positive. Story 154. Lack of money, competition from fellow bachelors, and other factors. Story 155. I am selfish and lazy when it comes to caring about others. Story 156. Upbringing that made me trust no one. My mother told me anyone friendly to me is lying or wants to use me. Lack of self-identity and self-confidence. Never allowed to have a social life until age 17. Mental breakdown at age 15 with hundreds of voices in my head. Downgraded my career into dead-end jobs to avoid triggering my health condition. Working long hours and weekends. Highest contributor. Crave to be alone 90% of the time. Story 157. Way too independent. I will not tolerate a poor quality partner either. The quality available is less than desirable. Story 158. I have many medical issues that I do not want to burden others with. I will face this alone, dispose of my body in the river and continue on. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.